Hello, thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. My name is Andrew Coburn. I represent the Connected Places Catapult, the UK's innovation accelerator for smart cities, urban innovation and mobility. I'm here today to talk a little bit about a really exciting programme running between the UK and South Korea. It's called the Innovation Twins programme. And without further ado, let's dive in. So, the Innovation Twins programme, what is it? The Connected Places Catapult has a legacy of city system analytics. And so we're very good at understanding really complex places like cities, how they work, how innovation kind of comes to market, how jobs are created, productivity, how all the different bits work, and essentially how you can improve different areas of working. And so with this experience, we've developed over the years many tools for helping us with this. And recently we've been looking at the global piece and looking at where the Catapult can really add value. And we were looking at what we could do with cities on the global piece. And we developed a methodology for intelligent city pairing. The methodology is called Innovation Twins. And what we do, we apply the methodology to the UK and a partner country, and then we identify high potential city pairings that can collaborate across policy, civic, business, academia to really drive better outcomes. In a nutshell, that's the Innovation Twins programme. So the programme objectives, it's very much about creating strong and sustainable outcome-based relationships between cities, place-based relationships. We've all heard of sister city relationships, but this is really focused on outcomes, collaboration outcomes across policy and civic. How are cities developing policies? How are they understanding they've got the right policies in place for net zero, climate change, jobs growth, productivity, bringing innovation to market? How are their academic institutions collaborating globally in applied research that really support the city piece? And how are the businesses identifying opportunities and accessing opportunities overseas? So creating trusted relationships where you can have privileged market access on the ground. And equally, one city's trade is another city's investment. Everybody wants companies to come to their city as much as they want their companies to go to other cities. So this is, as I said, it's very much a relationship-based structural program. So to start with, we have the methodology, the Innovation Twins methodology, and we pair it, we apply it between two countries, and we identify high potential cities, city pairings. We then do a little bit of research and work around that, and we take the findings to these cities and we work with the national government and local government to really convene and bring these people together and help them understand the value of these sort of international collaborations. We then help them design roadmaps of activities, which is super important because that's when a sort of a high level strategic concept becomes really applicable and practicable to people's day jobs as it breaks down into activities across the various ecosystem actors from the city. And then obviously we've got a big impact model where we look to demonstrate the impact of these programs. So we were approached to look at the South Korea from the UK government, very much in line with the integrated review and part of their Indo-Pacific tilt. There's a free trade agreement signed, and the UK government was very interested in structural programs that would support greater collaboration and market access and promotion of UK expertise and excellence in Asia Pacific, and specifically with Korea, which is already a great kind of trading partner of ours. And so with support of the UK government and the Korean government, we applied the methodology between the UK and South Korea. And so we set up a program, the Innovation Twins program, which is effectively divided into three phases. The first is the application of the methodology, which we then gather that evidence, we pair the cities, we start stimulating the relationships between these cities and their ecosystems. And then phase two was testing and trialing, where we look at taking stuff from the paper and how does that apply in the real world, where we bring two cities together and start looking at how you can actually put those structures of collaboration in place to get the good stuff ready to go. And then phase three, the phase we're in just now, is when we scale, we collaborate, when we start breaking down to those activities I mentioned before, and we start doing stuff, which is really exciting. The potential for UK South Korea city pairings, I mean, at a high strategic level, it's essential for these programs what we're looking at doing is supporting the trade investment, the international collaboration piece. You can't just turn up to another country with a different way of doing business, different structures, different finance structures, lots of different things, and just assume that if you've got something they want, they can buy it nice and easily. So we're looking at, as part of our analysis and part of our relationship building, harmonizing different systems, helping the UK side understand how things work in Korea from the national government level, the local government level, the business, the academic level, funding structures, program structures, all the way down to language and engagement, etc. And equally on the South Korean side, I mean, very basic things like their financial year is different from the UK financial year. So they're planning their budgets from summertime to autumn time, they're January to December. So if you're looking at it against the public sector and looking at different projects at certain times of the year, for instance, you're engaging with the public sector, or you understand when organizations are receiving their funding or strategizing in terms of what they want to do. So looking at the UK and the Korean cities, there's lots of interesting overlaps, but some gaps as well, which help highlight some opportunities for collaboration. And so we applied the methodology, and 4 high potential pairings floated to the top. And top of that list, the one that you'll all be most interested in, is Belfast and Sejong. We also had Liverpool, Busan, Birmingham and Ulsan, and Glasgow and Daegu. And this is very much in line with, in the UK, what we call the Levelling Up programme. So how do you help highlight the opportunities outside of what's inside the M25? You know, how do you help the world understand that the UK is not contained round about London? So really helping highlight the opportunities and the places. And just an anecdote for you, when we were across in Korea with a team from Birmingham and they were presenting to the team in Ulsan, at the end of the Big Bang presentation where Birmingham had talked about all the amazing stuff happening in Birmingham, the first comment in the room was, "I've never heard of Birmingham." So if you don't know these places exist, if you don't know all the good stuff happening, it's pretty hard to do that international collaboration, isn't it? Okay, so we've done a lot of the theory and the high level stuff, diving into the details really. This is the phase 3. This is where we start looking at turning relationships and conversations into activities on the ground. Once you've got the theory, once you've paired these cities and their ecosystems, obviously this is really complex places. How do you translate a high-level structural program into activities that will drive the outcomes that we want, where both cities gain from understanding how to shape the policies better and faster, validate their policy formation, or how their academic institutions can collaborate, or how they can open up privileged business opportunities to each other's business communities, etc. This is what we call the roadmap development. So we're working actively with the city pairings to understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, where they're doing it, how the money's being spent, what the opportunity for international collaboration looks like, but we're also looking to uncover what they would like to do. So we're understanding what is, and we're trying to understand things that they would like to do, and we're mapping that onto collaboration partners, we're mapping that onto funding streams, and then we're bringing these cities together so they can agree roadmaps of activities. The program's funded for a further couple of years, but we obviously want a long-term, many year relationship between these cities. But over the next couple of years now, we're going to look to get all these city pairings to sign off these roadmaps and say for the next couple of years, our city-to-city ecosystems will collaborate across, it could be government officials, local government officials going and spending 6 months in the other city. It could be policy workshops. It could be cross-city demonstrators. It could be good access to the city procurement. It could be testbed access, many different things. And so that's quite exciting going through these conversations just now. And so what we're looking at between, as I said, May 2023 and March 2025 is the activation of this roadmap. So the role of the Connected Places Catapult has really been to highlight the potential of this program, to start bringing everyone on that journey of building relationships, translate the high-level concept into activity-based roadmaps between the cities, and then our job is to start stimulating that activity and look at where things could be happening, maybe aren't happening yet, or need an extra little bit of effort where we can support to make that happen. Just to mention that there's a lot of text on these slides. I believe they will be shared afterwards. Also, my contact details will be at the end of this webinar if anybody wants to get in touch to talk about any of the details contained here. So just diving a little bit into the Sejong piece. So it was really interesting. We're going to be publishing a big piece of work, I think, at the end of March, which will be an in-depth deep dive into the program, the methodology, the city pairings. And just to give you a bit of a snapshot, so Belfast and Sejong, they paired across some really interesting structural pieces, business pieces, academic pieces. A few bits that floated to the top were in terms of cybersecurity, innovation places, or data management and mobility. And both cities are doing really interesting stuff in this area, and there's some great areas for collaboration. So Sejong's really interesting because there's probably not that many people who aren't familiar with Korea who know about Sejong. Sejong is where 70% of the Korean government sits. It is one of the 2 national pilot smart cities. So there are only 2 designated national smart cities in Korea. Sejong is one of them. And effectively a national pilot smart city, it was effectively how do they look at regulatory sandboxes, how do they look to demonstrate technology, test beds, etc., and bring to life all these great stuff that they want to roll out across the rest of the country. So an excellent entry point into Korea for any UK companies, especially from this audience. There's a lot of money being spent there over the next 5 to 10 years. System integrator LG has been doing a lot of work in that area. There's a lot of bits on this slide that will highlight areas of interest for the city that look and demonstrate across mobility, healthcare, education, energy, environment, governance, culture, shopping, jobs, etc. A lot of the main driving strategies are driven by those enabling technologies, which I know a lot of the companies on this webinar have great expertise in. Interesting that it's a population of 320,000. It's not a mega city. So test beds and demonstrators they're bite-sized, they're very doable. As I mentioned, a lot of government institutions and national R&D institutes now are located there. And there's some very interesting financial assistance programs for R&D, but also for wider business activities. So a few facts and stats, Sejong again. They've got a techno park where they're investing a lot of their R&D budgets. There's very interesting collaboration opportunities there. They've got a very interesting skills base, and they've really doubled down on the cybersecurity piece. Some very interesting synergies with what's happening out in Belfast just now. And Sejong also worked to British standards, which is really interesting, and became the first city to achieve the Smart Cities designation, which is pretty cool. And they've got a lot of work happening with drones, an awful lot of drone application stuff being trialed and tested just now, which gives great opportunities for companies in this area. And the key asset stakeholders, I mean, when we publish this, I think probably towards the end of March, there'll be a lot more information here. But I think when you think of the city, you've got to think of the metropolitan city, the techno park, and the tech cluster town as the 3 real key areas of interest here. You've got 2 major players in terms of LG and the Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute. And then the mobility piece is also very, very interesting because a lot of it connects an autonomous vehicle testbed activity happening just now. Okay, so kind of bringing things to life a little bit, I guess. I've touched upon these key projects and case studies. So they wanted to be a drone demonstration city. They want to look at the art of the possible and the application of drones for urban-based services, everything from fire response to construction site real-time safety monitoring to some really just some pretty left field applications as well. It's a place where they've looked at the regulations, they've set aside some areas, and they've got some really interesting companies doing some work now, and they're looking at doing more of that over the coming years. The Autonomous Driving Big Data Control Center was completed a couple of years ago now, I think, and they were really looking at a lot of digital architecture to support the Connect Autonomous Vehicle test beds that they want to be putting in place moving forward from now. And there's a range of activities like there. And not only the electric piece, they're super interested in the hydrogen piece as well, hydrogen applications for mobility. Again, interesting opportunities around about that area. So today's only a 15-minute presentation. So obviously I can't give a comprehensive view of all the opportunities, but it is a super interesting place with a lot of stuff happening just now. And so one of the final slides here, just to say that we're putting in place structured innovation twins programs round about the Asia Pacific area, starting off with South Korea, and really focusing at building strong, sustainable city-to-city relationships. We've just launched the UK-Australia Innovation Twins program. This year, we're looking to launch the Taiwan and Japan Innovation Twins program, and we have a place-based pairing program in India just now. And essentially, we're really looking at market-making activities where we can identify and create market opportunities for Team UK, hopefully gain privileged market access and really understand the opportunity for the UK and accelerate people into those places. So super interesting programme, really exciting times. It is this year's the 140th anniversary of UK-South Korea relations. So there'll be lots of work happening in this area to publicise the great stuff happening here. And finally, I'd just like to say thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this webinar. My details are on the slide in case anybody would like to get in touch. I hope you enjoy the rest of the webinar. Thank you.